welcome back to another YouTube video doing Any Titan. We're here on World of Tanks Valor with the SU 130 PM, which is, as far as I can tell, pretty much identical to the previous Shaska, whatever variant that was put out sometime before this. But this is the free tank. Yet one of the free tanks. I have a couple more left to go, because I got the rest as well, as far as I know. And we're on Heilbronn. Now, anyone, a regular follower of mine from way back will know that I'm probably at my best with tank destroyers. But I have a completely different playstyle. I try and play a lot more patient game, more of a kind of a hunter game. Now this, I think, is a good location for tank destroyers. But you will be spotted. You got to accept the fact that you're going to be spotted, especially if they come up the 4 or 5 line, which I think is actually probably one of the best attack axes in the game. It's just that a lot of the time people don't exploit it right well, or they don't do it simultaneously with some probing as well on the further west of the map. So they get the undivided attention of everybody, and if you're well set up back here, it can be very difficult, especially if you overextend at the beginning of the game, like that LTTB, or the Kampf Panzer 50, which is another tank we'll be talking about. So, what do I think of this tank? Well, it's a very solid performer. I actually quite enjoyed playing this tank. It's very good. It's not terribly, unusual or exciting, but what it does solidly, reliably well. It's possibly one of the more, I mean, I've played it with the crew that came with it initially. By the time these games, I actually put a good crew into it, but I initially played it with the crew it came with it, with no experience or skills, just to see how it stacked up. And I think it's a reasonably decent crew trainer. I found it no problem to get good results in the game. You will get spotted a lot more. Now, I set it up initially with binoculars and camouflage netting, but I never changed that out. Never really saw the need to do so. I think it's it just works well as this kind of, long range. The accuracy could do with some, could do with being better, but it's good enough. It's good enough to make the tank work, and it hits very hard when it hits. So it is relatively easy to do quite a lot of damage to your enemies with this tank, as long as you put it into positions where the gun can shoot and you can keep the gun firing. And it's mobile enough. Okay, you can take a lick or two, pull it in or put it in a position, but it's generally mobile enough that you probably won't take more if you don't want to. If you're willing to move as soon as you fire, and you're willing to take the risk that you're going to be spotted, you can effectively trade. The armor isn't going to stop anything. I mean, that's just pure. There's no armor to speak of, but you can certainly. There's enough hit points in the tank that you can take risks with it. And I think those risks generally pay off, because a lot of the time the tanks hitting you back are not going to be as hard hitting as you are. So you're trading at a positive. That shot in the T-130 actually earned me some hate mail, which I don't really understand. I don't understand why you would send hate mail to somebody for killing you. But aside from anything else, it's not like he didn't know I was here. It's not as if I hadn't been spotted previously, or shot at previously. I mean, my presence here was well established at this point, even if my precise location might not have been known, because it's not like artillery didn't have a go as well. So this has turned the battle essentially. They've tried both sides and they're not getting anywhere, and there's no more action going to happen around here. I thought perhaps the medium tank around the edge of the town there might try an end run around the back, going for Arty, and why not? What else is he going to do? Skulking around where he is at the moment isn't going to do him a lot of good. although he has 14 hit points. That's probably why he's skulking around the edge of the map and not doing much good at the moment. I'm not actually going to do much more in this game. I'm just kind of basically doing my own skulking around, waiting for that Object 416 to see if he appears in somewhere where I can shoot him. Now that he's no longer a threat, I'll sort of drive forward, but I mean the chances of myself taking any further meaningful part in this game is pretty much nil. It's just more about driving the countryside. But as you can see, it gets up a reasonable lick of speed once you get her going. And she's reasonably mobile at the pulling in and pulling out, so I think it's quite a flexible tank. It's certainly a lot more flexible than a lot of other tank destroyers that I've got. And of course it's got, like I said, the 180 forward firing gun arc, which is unusual. It's not a full rotating turret. Does mean you have to be careful if you're getting circled by light tanks. The turret won't be fast enough to keep up with them anyway, so you're in serious trouble there. And of course they'll put every round through because you don't have any armor. So that game got us 4 kills, almost 3k damage. Didn't get any assistance damage or spotting damage. It's not a tank where you're going to get a lot of assistance damage in, I think, unless you track people. And it's a bit too hard hitting. I suppose it will track people on occasion, but it's actually, if people have repair kits, they'll use it if they're hit by this woods. They're looking to hang around waiting for their tracks to repair if they have the choice. But it doesn't have the view range that you're going to be doing. It's not like a Hellcat or a T67 where you're going to be doing a lot of spotting and you're going to get other people are going to take advantage of your spotting. You can self-spot in a pinch in this tank, but you don't want to be. If you're self-spotting, they're a little too close because as soon as you move, they will spot you. The only reason I think you can self-spot in this tank is the combination of camouflage, netting, and binoculars. I mean, I think the view range does extend past the if you have a good crew, the view range will extend past the detection range, but not by much, and certainly not by anything you'd be comfortable with. Man, those little things move fast. Anyway, I mean that targeting reticle was practically on his left-hand side when I fired, and he was still gone by the time the shell arrived. However, I must point out that this is really bad. This is terrible scouting. I mean, despite the fact that he's probably spotted half the team, maybe even as much as 3/4 of the team, he's done it in such a way that I'm talking about the ELC even 90. He's done it in such a way that his team can take no advantage of it, because we were all behind the ridgeline. If he'd stayed on the other side of the ridgeline and forced us to come over the ridgeline to him, even if he had died in the same length of time, at least then his friends like the Jagdtiger 8.8 up there and the other tanks that were poking the ridgeline at the other end would have had the opportunity to shoot at us as we were sticking our noses out of the ridgeline to kill him. Whereas by coming over to our side of the ridgeline, we were hulled down or more or less completely hidden behind the ridgeline, and he was in no position to really harm us, because there was only one of him. Well, he had one ally at one point, and that's all he did was got his fellow light tank killed to no good purpose. This guy's playing a much more careful game. He hasn't peeked the ridgeline at all. Now, he should have at least peeked the ridgeline, to be honest with you, in my opinion. But he's engaged in 2 separate tanks, so I suppose I can understand why not. But he should have had a look just to see who was here. Now, we are going to lose that flank. We've more or less lost that flank. It's only a matter of time before they come across, so it's time to start contemplating leaving. That tiger's too far back and too... it's sloping away from me, and it's time really to leave here. That was a very fortunate shot, really. I was spotted there, and they're going to come over the ridge. They should come over the ridge fairly promptly, although we're ahead in things. So, you know, overall balance things is in our favour. But these guys could cause havoc if they had they followed up immediately. And it turns out this isn't what happens. They won't actually turn up for about another full minute. So overall, yes, I think the SU-130 PM is well worth getting, or its named variant. Well, I haven't played the named variant, but given that there seem to be identical tanks, so the named variant is probably similarly useful tank. So, if you like tank destroyer play and you're willing to play in that style, then they can be very, very effective tanks. They're certainly among more effective Soviet tank destroyers, because a lot of the Soviet tank destroyers are kind of fire shot in the general direction of the enemy and hope it hits someone. Things like the ISU-152 and the SU-152, or even the box tank, the SU-Y-100. Although I've never played that tank as well. But it's a big gun that, you know, poor accuracy, and does a hell of a lot of damage when the shot arrives. So I remember, about a minute and a half ago, I was abandoning that flank, saying that our flank was lost and these guys could cause havoc if they came over. Well, here they come. A bit too late to cause havoc, because everybody's ready for them. They've just given us too much time. They didn't take advantage of the momentum. There goes the Tiger. And they also took I don't know what they did. Did they go way down the corner expecting to find artillery there? Whatever their motivation was, it's just it's a waste coming over the corner now. If they'd come over the corner a minute and a half ago, they could have caused some. Would have been just us down here. They'd been fighting 3 tank destroyers and the artillery. And they could have made that a series of one-on-one fights. They could have come to the ridge line, they could have picked off the artillery there just to the north of me. Then they could have come around the corner, taken on myself and the artillery, and then the guy in the mountain behind them. And they could probably have done all that before the guys that had gone up to the enemy base, or towards the enemy base, had finished fighting the E-75 and the other tanks that were up around there. We got a first class mastery out of that with under 3,500 damage, 1,433 experience. So yeah, that's actually low enough, I think. You could probably do an ace with 1,700, 1,600 experience. Get yourself into a tier 10 game, do like 3,500, 4,000 damage, and there you go. Overall, I think a very solid, reliable tank, good performer. Nothing particularly special or spectacular about it, but good, solid performer. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press like, comment, share. It really helps the channel out. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.